Yo YouTube, what's up? I'm Tim, and this is a Cash Kelly and AC Sports Report. Alright, so a few days back now, the Rays only drew 15,000 to a game, and it was a game where they had a chance, I believe, to clinch a potential playoff berth. Now, Evan Logoria and David Price, probably the two biggest stars on the team, well, not probably, along with Carl Crawford, those are the biggest stars, but Logoria and Price, which I think this is probably planned, went to Twitter and tweeted, you know, it was an embarrassment that there was only 15,000 people there. And I agree with that. It really is an embarrassment that there's only 15,000 people at a game where you have a chance to win a playoff game. I think that's silly. But they do have some good excuses there for not having a huge fan base, which is true. That being said, I'll get through to some of those excuses. It doesn't really matter. If there's a good baseball team around, if I say move to Florida some of my life, if there's a chance that the Rays are going to win the division and there's tickets available, I'll go. I mean, why not? It's baseball. It's a good team. I'd like to see it. And for all the badness that that team had for so many years, you'd think once they started winning, they'd start drawing. Well, that's not true. And the fact that for Wednesday's game, they decided to give away 20,000 free tickets. Not 20, not 200, 20,000 to fill the ballpark really shows you that there isn't a huge fan base. And me being from Philly, I can't get tickets for the Phillies. The Phillies are sold out night after night after night. The stadium's better. Tropicana Field isn't a great stadium, and the catwalk just annoys the hell out of everyone. And I think we've gotten to that point. But that being said, the Phillies were able to go down to Washington, which in my opinion isn't a great place to drive down to because the team there isn't good. And bring all these fans down there, and I'm not trying to make this sound like, oh, Philly's everything. I'm just trying to use an example here. They were able to go down to Washington and probably put as many fans in the stands as the Rays can. And I know it's a bad economy, but Florida's a pretty rich state. There's a bunch of older, tired people there. You'd think they'd go to a game. Here's why they don't. Only draw well in the Yankee games, really, because the people down there are not from Florida. And if you notice around all the other teams in Florida, they don't get a ton of buzz. Look at the Marlins. If you think the Rays are dead, look at the Marlins games. Look at the Heat. They have D. Wade last year. They couldn't draw. And I mean, there's no real Heat fans. There's some fans of Wade and Shaq, but there's not a ton that were there always, and you're born a Heat fan, like that type of thing. That's silly. But why would they haven't had time to get a fan base down there in Florida? Because really, Florida's not a baseball town. First of all, they've had a good basketball team for a while. D. Wade. They had the Dolphins are the only team in that state that is universally liked because of that 72 perfect season. Everyone became Dolphins fans, and that's kind of been passed down from generation to generation, which is fine with me. So go be Dolphins fans. But the Rays and the Marlins, but we're sticking with the Rays here. The Rays just have not been very good. That's the bottom line. The last 3 years, yeah, they've been really good. But when you're terrible, like, I don't even think they won 70 games the first 10 years of their existence. That is horrific. That is not worth paying to see, I can tell you that much. If you're not going to win that, if you're going to go 66 and 102, you can't expect to generate much of a fan base. And you know, it's going to take quite a while for them to get a legit fan base because I think they need to be good for 10 years. Or, you know, not this good for the next 10 years. But they need to be a consistent team. They can't fade off again and then come back in 15 years and be good. Because it's just not going to work out that way. They will be relocated, which is a nice segue on to my next point. Oklahoma City, is that a potential place you'd want to move this team? I mean, I sat down and thought of places where you could potentially move this team. I talked with some people, and they gave me some more suggestions. But let's just go through these lists, and I'll give you whether this is a potential suitor. Oklahoma City, it's one of the biggest growing markets in America. They have a brand new basketball team now. And I just don't know if they could support a baseball team yet. I think you gotta let it get a little bigger there, and then ease it in. They have a brand new basketball team now. Let's see if they can support that team, and let's see if they support it when it's good and when it's bad, and if they're real fans. San Antonio is a place that comes up to my mind. But really, Texas is not die-hard baseball fans. They already have two teams in the Astros and the whatchamacallits, the Rangers. But Texas is a football state. It really is. And you look, they have the Longhorns, the Cowboys, you had the Texans in there recently. They are just a football state that's like, yeah, if the baseball team's good, we'll watch, sure. But they're not going to go crazy about a team down there. And also, basketball, they have some pretty decent teams with the Spurs and likes of that, and Texas basketball is also pretty good. But football, you're talking about Texas Tech, Texas A&M. Tons of schools down there. It is a football state. You can't put another baseball team in that state anywhere. North Carolina. You want to talk about Texas being a football state? Well, North Carolina is a dedicated basketball state. And, I mean, they just love the Tar Heels down there. They can't... They have a decent team with the Bobcats down there, but obviously Tar Heels comes number one. I guess you could... That's a potential place, but I just don't know. I really don't. There's a lot of teams down there that don't draw well. In southeastern parts of the how passionate Northeast fans are, I'm talking about Boston, New York, Philly, Cleveland, any other city in the East Coast of New York, or East Coast of the United States. Those are the huge sports fans. Then you go down to the southeast of the United States, and it's just kind of dead. So I just don't look at this and think there's another place they could move them. Canada. I talked to one of my friends. He says that, it's not fair that Canada got left with only one baseball team. But the bottom line is the people in Montreal not only hate Americans, but they don't understand or like baseball. So you're not going to put a team back there. You're not. And you're not going to get a team anywhere in Canada. There's not one spot where they're just have a passion for baseball. All over together, you could collect people and put them in one city and make them love baseball. But there isn't one spot in Canada where I can look at and say, they need a team. Toronto doesn't even draw that well. It's one of the biggest cities in the world, and you can't draw that well in Toronto. So, I mean, Ontario maybe. I don't know. I'm not a geography expert, but I just don't think there's any spot in Canada where you can really look at and say, that would be a perfect spot for a team. Not Calgary or any place like that. Really, and if you have any ideas on where they can move, please leave me a comment on here, because I'm open to ideas. I think one of those Florida teams probably should move. The Marlins aren't moving. They're not moving. They're getting a new stadium in a couple years. The Marlins aren't moving. Maybe the Rays should move. I think that would almost be a mistake, because I think they are beginning to get a fan base, but when they say it's embarrassing, I think it is embarrassing. You should be able to fill up a stadium on this late in the season when you're this good. You should be filling up most of the season when you're this good. But that's the way the economy is right now. People can't afford it, and you look around baseball, a lot of the teams that are good aren't selling out their stadiums. A lot are. The Yankees, the Twins have a new stadium, they're selling out, but a lot aren't. The Rangers don't sell out a lot. Let's think. The Padres don't sell out a lot. The Giants have a pretty nice stadium. That's one of my favorite stadiums, but they don't sell out every single night consistently. It's hard to do that, I know, but 15,000, come on. Come on, you guys got it, and that's Southeast United States. I'm talking Atlanta, too. You guys, for a couple of those playoff games, or a couple August Braves games, you're talking about like 7,000 people there. It is a disgrace. If you don't want a baseball team, fine, don't show up. But don't be one of the people that complains when it moves. That's like the people in Seattle that complain about losing the Sonics. Well, you didn't show up, number one. And when you didn't show up, you weren't willing to build a new arena to show up for a team that was young and upcoming. And look, it's been good. So, I mean, I don't really understand that argument. And I see a similar thing coming in Tampa Bay. But really, I don't think there's another spot to put that team that you can just move it right this week. If there's any ideas, again, let me know. Catch me on Twitter, CashKellyNAC, Facebook, CashKellyNAC Sports Report. Email me, CashKellyNAC@gmail.com. Some of you might not even know why it's CashKellyNAC Sports Report. Well, this weekend, AC is returning to the show, hopefully Sunday. KJ might be on as well. Hopefully we will be doing our MLB playoff preview every single series we hope to preview. We'll see how that goes. But you will have in-depth coverage on how your team's going to do in the playoffs. I can guarantee you that much. That I can guarantee you. I'm Tim. I'll see you guys later.